Mickey Loomis, WWL Radio. The character of the Saints team will be revealed over the last 7 games. I can already tell you I'm not going to be a fan of this interview because I want Mickey to come on here and say, look, I made a whoopsie poopsie, all right? We fired Pete Carmichael. We fired Dennis Allen. We're going to start over. We're going to do better. And he's not going to say that. So because he's not going to say that, I'm going to assume for the next 9 minutes and 1 second of this interview with Mike Hoss, Mickey is going to give me a ton of cliches, a ton of, well, we're working through this. Well, we got a lot to, we got a lot to cover. We got a lot of growing pains, a lot of cliches like that. And I'm not going to like that.
I think when Dennis talked about last night, and there was 3 kind of themes that stuck out, and they're all kind of intertwined, but they've all kind of struck at different times, and that's kind of missed opportunities, inconsistency, and the ability to finish, right? I mean, those 3 things, and you can pick in different games.
I don't think that's the case. 2 is definitely a thing. 3, the inability to finish. My brother in Christ, we were down 21-3 in the second quarter. There was no finishing. I had barely finished my lunch by the time the game was over with. I'm not sure what he's talking about because our defense was really good in the second half, right? Chicago, we didn't have a problem finishing. We had a problem in the first half letting Tyson Bagent do whatever we wanted. Or whatever he wanted. Indianapolis, we didn't have a problem finishing. We had a problem in the first half, right? Gardner Minshew lighting us up. It's the same theme the last couple of weeks where offensively we don't get started. We can't finish. We don't get started. There's no consistency. The offense is a total joke. Defensively, though, no. It has not been finishing. It has absolutely been starting. That has been the problem as of late. Everything else, like, to say it's crazy how bad things are, like with the Saints, and how just jumbled up and how much of a mess it is. And the answers we get are, well, we just have missed opportunities. What? Like what? What is the missed opportunity? The whole game is a missed opportunity. Taysom Hill had 1 carry. Chris Olave had no targets in the first half. We are a 500 team with the easiest schedule in the NFL. Our quarterback got, it looked like something I would have to pay $19.99 on a month on a seedy Russian website to even view the video. It was so violent and graphic. That's what happened to Derek Carr in that hit. So much. Michael Thomas can't get out of Kenner. Chris Olave, again, land speed records in Kenner. There's so much wrong, and the answer of missed opportunities is laughable. The biggest missed opportunity would have been hiring Eric Bieniemy or Mike McDaniel or Doug Peterson or some random guy that just hangs out next to Dave and Buster's. Whoever. Hire someone else to run the offense. Hire someone else to run this team. That was the missed opportunity.
At different times, but those 3 themes have been part of your issue, correct?
Yeah, I think each week there are some things that are common, from week to week, and there's some things that we've improved significantly on, and then there's some new things that crop up. And I think the last few weeks defensively, we've struggled in the first half of these games.
Yes, we absolutely have.
And I don't have a real answer for the why behind that. So we've got to get that fixed. We got to figure out, why we're starting slow, and it's taken us a while to get settled in defensively. I think offensively, over the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've improved pretty significantly in a lot of areas. And yet, this was a game in the first half where we took a little bit of a step back, even though there were some good things. We moved the ball at times, but
no, we didn't. We took a huge step backwards. And let me say this offensively, too. How many times have I said this, ladies and gentlemen? We weren't good offensively against the Bears. We weren't. I don't care whoever's telling you we were is being disingenuous. And I'm talking to you, Mickey, because if you're telling me that we were, you're being disingenuous. We're +5 in the turnover battle. We won by 7. Okay? We almost lost to Tyson Bagent and the Bears at home, +5 in the turnover margin. It is what it is. We had 20 plays or whatever in their territory. In the second half, we didn't do nothing. Okay? So I don't want to hear all this stuff about how, we're doing some good things. We're doing some whatever. We did do some good things against the Indianapolis Colts. That's it. That's it. Like that really boils down to it. And a lot of the success that the Saints have had this season, the Taysom Hill success, you might as well just throw that out. Because if we're going to run him once against the Vikings, who cares? You know, if he's having success, if that's how we're converting stuff in the red zone, and that's how we're finding success in short yardage and stuff like that, but then we just don't use them, who cares? We are right back to the same theme we had last year, where it's just every game, every quarter, every play, every possession, we're flipping a coin. Who's going to be the focal point of the offense? Who knows? Who's getting the ball right here? Who knows? It's 3rd and 10. What personnel package is going to be on the field? Who knows? Is Chris Olave going to be out there? I don't know. Is Alvin Kamara going to be out there? I don't know. Is Rashid Shaheed going to get 3 deep balls this game or none? Who knows? Is Taysom Hill going to get 10 carries and have 3 passes and catch a couple balls, or is he going to be completely absent? I don't know. It's so week to week. There's no scheme. There's no game plan. It's the same story as last year, just with different people.
Again, we had some misalignments on a couple of occasions, and we had some penalties on a couple of occasions.
Misalignments.
Our progress. So,
Mickey, the biggest misalignment, the biggest miscommunication is between the Saints offense and the end zone. That's the biggest misalignment. They're for some reason the Saints just can't get aligned with getting into the end zone. That's the main thing.
Those are the things that have to get cleaned up.
And it's a team thing, right? I mean, because you could say, wow, the defense gave up 21 straight points in the second quarter. Well, the offense only had 8 plays in the second quarter, and 2 of those were punts, only 22 plays in the first half. So it's a chicken or the egg. The offense didn't play very well in the first half, which put the defense on the field a lot. I mean, it's a little bit of both, correct?
Yeah, it's certainly both. It's always a complementary game. Look, the defense was having trouble getting stops. They were,
they got one stop.
Listen, they did a great job. Let's just acknowledge that. They played great. They had a great game plan, and they executed it, about as well as you could, particularly in the first half. And so their drives were, long drives, a lot of plays, keeping.
Yeah, it doesn't help when their offensive drives are long, successful. They're converting 3rd downs. They're doing whatever they want. We can't stop TJ Hawkinson. We can't stop Josh Dobbs. And then we go 3 and out. That's the complimentary thing that we're talking about here, is that it's not like the offense is just moving, and then, they kick a field goal here, and then we need to stop them. We can't. It's the worst of both worlds, where the defense cannot get a stop, cannot stop Josh Dobbs at all. But then the offense, they can't even get a first down. They can't even get moving. They can't even get going. It's just 3 and out city. And then by the time anything is figured out, next thing you know, it's 21-0.
Our offense off the field. It's hard to get in the rhythm offensively if you're not on the field, right? And then when you do get on the field, if you're only running 3 or 4 plays before you've got a punt, that's not a recipe for rip.
No, it is not.
So it's like I said, it's a complementary game, and that's the part of consistency that we haven't been able to find, is that game or games or stretch of time where you're playing really well offensively, defensively, and of course complementing that with good special teams play, and that's what we're struggling to find. But I think it's in there.
Yeah, it's clearly in there because we've seen it, right? I mean, it's not like it's not, it's just about the consistency. And then what happens, and this is not, this, but all of a sudden at halftime, you're down 24-3. So it's not that the game plan has to change, but it does a little bit just from a tempo situation. You were able to run the ball. I mean, all things considered, pretty well, but things do change when you're down.
I cannot stand when people say, like, yeah, you were able to run the ball pretty well. We ran the ball like 6 times in the first half. You don't even know what you can do when you do it on such a short sample size like that. If you have 5 carries for 30 yards, are you going to sit back and be like, man, we were really pounding the rock? No, it's too short of a sample size to even know what. We didn't do anything, and unfortunately, here's the paradox. What happens when the only thing that's consistent is you being either bad or inconsistent, right? Because I'm starting to think that the Saints front office and some of these media personalities, they're using inconsistent as a synonym for bad. Because a lot of what they're talking about of inconsistency is actually just bad. You're not inconsistent on offense if you score 3 points in the first half and you have a bunch of 3 and outs. That's not an inability to establish a rhythm, right? That's just a bad offense. So you're not inconsistent on defense if you're giving up 24 points in the first half, you're giving up 300 yards in the first half. You're just bad on defense in the first half. So I'm starting to think now that we're this far into the season that we are actually kind of consistent here. Like Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen hasn't been inconsistent as a head coach. He's been just bad, right? And if you look at the phases of the team, offense, defense, and special teams, punting and kicking currently, I would say, is bad, right? Offense, this whole season, I would say has been bad, except for the Colts game. And you can say, oh, well, James, brother, we've got, whatever it is, 4 games in a row over 300 yards total offense. Sweet. What do we have to show for that? Not much. Not much. Beat the Bears, beat the Colts. Nice. You know, like, the results just aren't there. The results are not there enough for me to even kind of wonder about consistency. I'm more wondering about, do we just have a real problem on our hands here? Do we just have a bad team?
A 24-3.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed that you always look for positives in these games. When you watch the tape afterwards, you're looking for things that you can build on as well as things that you have to correct. And one of the things that was positive is that I thought our base run game was pretty good, maybe the best it's been this season. So that was positive. I thought our protection for the most part was good. Particularly against a team that does a lot of blitzes, a lot of exotic pressures, some of which we didn't handle, but
right now, here's an interesting thought. Right now is the most consistently good thing on our team. Is it the pass protection? If not, what would you say? Go down in the comments below. I'll ask the comments. What would you say is the most consistently good thing on our team? I will give you some hints. You cannot say the defense. Because if you say the defense is consistently good, then I got 3 first half in a row that is going to challenge that. You can't say our offense, because our offense hasn't been consistently good. We weren't good against Minnesota. We weren't good against Chicago. We weren't good for 6 other games this season. You can't say our running game, because our running game hasn't been good at all this year. I would say Taysom has been consistently good, but then last week he has 1 carry. So it's hard to be like, yeah, he's been consistently good, except for that game he had 1 carry. You can't say Blake Grupe. You can't say Headley. So what is it? What would you say is the most consistently good thing so far this Saints season? And it has to be for the whole season. Let me know in the comments below.
A good portion of which we did. So those are the kinds of things that you pay attention to, not just the mistakes you make, but also the things that you did well.
We talked about in that first segment, and that is, as you look at the film and you look at looking for some positives, let's talk about A.T. Perry initially. Mike Thomas gets hurt early after he took some tough. Those hits he took were hard on his first 2 catches. So you get this young man who comes in, who's been active, but he hasn't really caught a pass. And then he catches the 23-yarder, which was big. And
Wild. wild. I'll let Mike continue here.
I remember talking a lot at camp about A.T. Perry and the ability to make some contested catches. And I don't know that he can have a first touchdown more contested than his was in Minnesota.
Yeah, look,
Okay. Like, think about the state of the Saints. Think about what we have going on here. It's 5-5. We have a bye week. We're going to face Atlanta. Division's pretty much on the line. We have Derek Carr, who was just absolutely obliterated, sent to the nether realm. He's concussed. We don't even know what's going on with him. We've got Michael Thomas on basically TBD. Sounds like a pretty significant knee injury. Chris Olave has had some serious struggles this year. Can't run the ball. All the problems with the Saints, coaching staff, all that stuff. And we are 5 minutes into a conversation with the GM. And we're talking A.T. Perry. I don't know. This blows my mind. I mean, this is nuts. A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry might be good. Maybe. But we can't even get the ball to our good players. We can't even get the ball to our established players. I'm not sure, no offense, I'm not sure how much impact A.T. Perry can have on the current situation. How good would A.T. Perry have to be to impact what's going on here? I mean, do we trust Carmichael and Allen to get A.T. Perry the ball when they can't get Taysom Hill the ball, they can't get Chris Olave the ball, they can't get Rashid Shaheed the ball, they can't get Michael Thomas the ball when he's healthy, they can't get any of our tight ends the ball? We can't have a running back over 100 yards. How many catches do you think A.T. Perry is going to have against the Falcons right now, if you had to guess? Will he have 2 catches? Do you think he'll have 2 catches? Because we're spending some time with the GM talking about A.T. Perry here. The biggest game of the season coming up at Atlanta. Thanksgiving leftovers all over the shop. Will A.T. Perry have 2 catches, or will the coaching staff completely forget he even exists?
That was a spectacular catch. Here's one thing you can't coach, and that's the height that he has. You know, he's a long, tall receiver. He's got pretty good body control for having it in size, and you know, we saw some really good things in the preseason that we liked. He's still developing, but he's pushed into action on Sunday, and I thought he responded pretty well. I think there's another ball that he would tell you that he could have and should have caught, but the touchdown was certainly spectacular.
Notice they had to show the Bears game for the Taysom Hill picture because he did not have any of this going on against Minnesota. If they would have showed a picture of him against Minnesota, he'd have been running on the punt team.
As you look kind of at just the overall standings, this year feels a little different. I felt like we started this season with like these elite teams, right? The Miami, the San Fran, the Phillies, and the Buffaloes. And you look now, I mean, the 4-5, 5-5, 5-4, 6-3, 6-4. I mean, to me, that's a pretty tight bunch. I mean, with 7 games to go, 8 games for some. So 20 of the 32 teams are that 4-5, 5-5, 5-4, 6-3, or 6-4. That's a tight bunch. A lot of things can happen. I mean, between now and January 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I'll tell you why. Because the NFL has a quarterback problem. The quarterbacks in the NFL right now are journeymen, backups, rookies, because of injuries. You know, there's been a ton of injuries. There's been a ton of crazy turnover with the quarterback position. And so teams are going to have to go to players that aren't really starters in the NFL. When that happens, when you have a ton of players like that, and half the league, I would say, maybe even more than half the league, are being quarterbacked by either rookies, journeymen, or people who shouldn't even be in the league. When that happens, you're going to have a lot of inconsistency. You're going to have a lot of teams that are just win one week, lose the next week, a lot of ugly games. That's why unders are hitting so much this year. Teams are having a really hard time scoring. They're having a really hard time having kind of any kind of explosive plays. I mean, you think about who's quarterbacking these teams. I mean, right now, Geno Smith is considered a good quarterback. You know, It's a wild time in the NFL, and this happens every once in a while. This happens when you see a lot of people. Like we saw it happen a few years ago whenever, Peyton Manning kind of shifted out. We started seeing some of the older guys like, the Ben Roethlisbergers and the Phillip Rivers and the Eli Mannings. Like once those guys started kind of phasing out and all these teams were tasked with kind of rebuilding and figuring out where they're going. Once that happened, for a couple of years there, it was kind of questionable. And right now we're right back to that. I mean, you look at the NFC North, for example. Besides Jared Goff, and again, Jared Goff right now is considered a good quarterback in the NFL. Besides Jared Goff, you've got Tyson. For the last couple of weeks, we've had Josh Dobbs, Tyson Bagent, and Jordan Love. I mean, that's tough. That's brutal. So when that is going on, it's going to lead to this bunching up at 500 or right under 500 or just above 500 because it's basically teams just trading wins with these bad quarterbacks.
That's the NFL every year. There's this thought or expectation that there's this group of elite teams that can't be beat, and then there's a group of teams that can't win a game, and that's just not the case. I mean, the margin for error, the margin of victory, the things that you have to do to win a game, it's just so close in the NFL, and I think we're seeing that demonstrated. We see it every week. We see Houston with a rookie quarterback running off a string of wins that are improbable, and I think they beat Cincinnati this weekend. I don't think anyone would have guessed that. So that's why these small details, these little things, 12 men on the field at the end of a game, a penalty that you don't commit, that makes all the difference in the world. It's the difference between winning and losing, and it's the kinds of things that we have to look at and look at ourselves and get cleaned up, and it's looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I've got to be better in this particular area, and that's every individual. That's not just our players.
I think it also shines a light on roster building. It's really easy to have Patrick Mahomes and just say, okay, we've got Mahomes, we can figure out the rest. Or the Peyton Mannings of the world, the Tom Brady of the world, or the Drew Breeses of the world. Players like that. Matt Ryan, he was in Atlanta. You have such a stable core that the rest you can kind of figure out. But when you don't have that, and you see some teams that have like Jordan Love, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, you're watching Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas. You're watching Kenny Pickett. You're watching some of these guys orchestrate their offenses. It makes you wonder, like, hey, Green Bay, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing where y'all think, yeah, let's just roll Jordan Love out there. Let's roll Jordan Love and Romeo Dobbs out there and see what happens. How is that where we're at? It shines a light on some of those teams where you wonder, how have you not addressed anything? How have you not addressed the wide receivers? How have you not addressed the quarterback? How do we possibly have blank quarterback as our starting quarterback? What is the future? What are we doing? Where is the roster building? And at least the Saints, I guess you could at least say they made a move like for Derek Carr. They made that proactive move. They said, okay, we're going to try and build something here. Swing and a miss as of now, whatever, no problem. But when you look at some of these other teams, you do kind of have to sit back and wonder, like, what exactly is the plan? Like the Jets. The Jets saying, no, we're rolling out Zach Wilson every week. We think Zach Wilson's good. Like, what are we doing here? I understand they went and got Aaron Rodgers and all hell broke loose, so fine. But once Rodgers went down, they had to know, like, okay, look, we can't just roll out Zach Wilson every week for the rest of the season. You got to wonder when it comes to this roster building how the GMs have put themselves in some of these situations.
It's the personnel people, all of us. Hey, what can we do just a little better to eliminate these small things that are keeping us from winning?
And finally, Coach Allen talked about, all right, so here we have this stretch run, really 7 games after the bye week. You went through it last year where you were kind of like you went through, after the Tampa game, and it was like, I don't know if I don't want to say that you treated every game like a playoff game, but it felt somewhat like that. I mean, because you went through this situation last year, not similar, not exactly similar, but because you went through it and played pretty solid football down the stretch, kind of the same mentality with the 7 games remaining.
Look, I understand the reference.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a playoff scenario. The Saints have to win every game besides the Lions game. I think I'm okay with saying every game's a must win. We can drop the Lions game. We drop the Lions game. We go 11-6. 11-6 should win the division if we beat Atlanta twice. Obviously, we'll be division winners. 11 wins, division winner, host a playoff game. If we drop a couple games in there, like I've done this before, let's say you drop the game to Atlanta after Thanksgiving, and let's say you drop the Detroit game. Let's say you win every other game, so you go 5-2 over your last 7 games. Is anyone here confident that gets them that gets them in? Like if I told you we're gonna go 5-2, and Atlanta we're gonna split with Atlanta, and we're gonna lose to Detroit, so we'd be 10-7. Are you confident 10-7 gets in? Because I don't know if I am. I'd be much more confident with 11-6 if you told me we're going to sweep Atlanta. So we have to win, I would say, 6 of the last 7 games to secure a playoff spot, secure the division win. Same thing. You're not going to go to the playoffs if you don't win the division. To secure that division championship, you got to go 6-1. So when you put it like that, yeah, it is a playoff scenario. It is a must-win kind of thing. And this team has shown that they're not exactly the most like back against the wall. We've got to win this game with a better team. Let's go win it. That's been kind of problematic for us.
But every team is different. Every team is different. And I think, when you get into these stretch runs, you're not building character, you're revealing it. And so the character of our team will be revealed over these next 6-7 games. And man, I believe in our guys. I believe in our team, our coaches, our staff. But we've got to demonstrate that in these last 7 games and see where it takes us.
There you go. Boom. Hopefully it takes us to the playoffs. Hopefully it takes us to a division championship. Hopefully it takes us to 11 wins. Ladies and gentlemen, go down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about that, what you thought about Mickey, with his interview. Always illuminating to hear from the GM. Thank you for listening. I will see you in the next video.